Okay, so the 17th demand of the 24 demands is establish and distribute a contingency fund for Black, Indigenous, and people of color businesses located in the George Floyd Square according to the needs of each business owner, not their landlords, to ensure the preservation of Black-owned businesses and promote race equity. That's the longest one of them all.
I know, and I transcribed them
Great.
just for this moment, so you can have to like do that all in one breath.
You took it easy on me. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
So is this just a kind of just another way of saying, let's like establish and keep Black-owned businesses in the zone?
More than that.
Okay, what's the more?
Is that there are Black businesses in this zone, and they have been able, they have been businesses in other spaces. And what they noticed was, like at Dragon Walk, they're like, when I was over on Nicollet, if a flower pot fell over, within 24 hours, that flower pot was replaced. And he didn't have to think twice about that as a business owner. Here, I was at Smoke at the Pit the other day, and I was talking about that. He was like, yeah, if this flower pot fell over, he was pointing to the flower pot in front of his space. He said, if this flower pot fell over, I'd have to leave the kitchen and come put the flower pot back up, right? So when looking at like business equity and work equity in terms of where your business is located within the city of Minneapolis determines how much assistance and support that you get as a business to be able to attract patrons. And so it's very important that our city includes economic justice into the Black businesses, so that way a facade grant is so critical and essential for people to even have the appeal to want to go in. My grandmother used to always say, it don't matter how good your food tastes, if it don't look good, people won't eat it. And it's very similar to the fact of with businesses, regardless of how your food tastes, like if the aesthetics of your the outside of your building is not appealing, people won't stop to patron your restaurants. And so it really is about being able to help our businesses grow by attracting more business by addressing the facade.
And who can bring the contingency fund? Who can supply that?
The contingency fund, oh, I messed up. I was talking about facade grant. Somebody else did the facade grant, right?
Marsha did, yeah.
Marsha did the facade grant. Okay, let me back up. Contingency fund, because there's two. That's the facade grant. The contingency fund really is about the fact that because of this justice protest, the businesses have aligned with the community to say, because not all the business owners actually live in this community, they do business in this community. So they've aligned with community members to say, you know, we're down for justice, we're down for Black liberation, we want to be able to support this community getting justice. And so in order to do that, we also want to ensure that we don't go out of business. Protesting for justice. And so including their voice into the list of demands to be able to say, giving them that contingency fund not only helps compensate from the losses that they suffered and endured because of COVID, but also the losses that they have suffered and endured because of the closing of the streets, which are closed because the city killed a man. So if their businesses start to struggle and dry up, it's the fault of the city, and so therefore it needs to be a part of the restitution toward the community. Our businesses are a part of our community. Those business owners are a part of our community. Community is made up of different things, including Biff's.
Yes, including Biff. I just feel like this truck has been following us the whole time. Bless his heart. So, but it goes back to the origin of what you've been saying earlier. These streets are closed because the city killed a man.
Yes.
And the city kills somebody, the streets close, the businesses suffer. It's on the city. So they should supply a contingency fund to keep those businesses afloat.
So what's so funny, I don't know if you've captured any of this in your other conversations, but so after the military tanks drove through the middle of the memorial, this was early on in the first week, it was on the night of the 30th, so Saturday night. They drove through the tanks. It was the night of the 29th, early in the morning of the 30th. They took their tanks and they drove through the memorial. It was caught on camera on TV. They later edited that part out. So if you were trying to watch the news, it would jump from 2 minutes to 4 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And so you have this kind of disruption in the streets, and then the community was like, oh, that ain't happening. The next morning I got up and there were like community-made barricades at every intersection. Before it was human body barricades. People were using their cars, people were using their bodies to stop the traffic.
Yeah.
So because people were coming to grieve, people were coming to protest, et cetera, et cetera. So people were using their bodies and their cars. Well, after the military done drove through, they went and got trash cans, refrigerators, garbage bags, crates, whatever they could find, and they put it up and they said no police allowed.
Oh yeah, you see it on the West Barrier.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the community set up barricades because of the offense. That literally less than a week after an officer killed a man, that the National Guard would drive through the flowers. And I mean, they were here because of curfew, right? To intimidate protesters. And I don't believe that they actually even arrested anyone in the square that night, but they did intimidate them with the rubber bullet shots and with bright lights and the tanks. Oh yeah, all of that, traumatizing. And so then the city came through and put up the cement barricades. And I think there was a neighbor who said that they had called the city and asked for cement barricades for pedestrian safety. But the city put up those barricades. And so the narrative that the city gives is that we put up the barricades for pedestrian safety. But and those barricades came, I believe, June 2nd.
Okay.
So before the city put up barricades, the people put up barricades to protect this space as sacred space. And I think that is important to understand, because the narrative that the city will give is to say that the barricades exist because we want to protect pedestrian safety. But the people will say the barricades exist because we are protesting the unjust systems. That caused the murder of George Floyd. And to protest that injustice, the Justice Resolution 001, what does justice look like? We have created these 24 demands.
And the contingency fund is part of what justice looks like?
The contingency fund is part of what justice looks like because the businesses are a part of our community.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for educating us on number 17.
Absolutely. I'm about to go patron one of them now because I'm so hungry.
Do it. All right. Thank you, Janelle.